A lot of attention played to golf right now, and some of the biggest names attracted to a Saudi Arabia-run rival league to the PGA, if you can call it that. Already, as the New York Post was reporting today, the great white shark has caught his biggest fish, referring to Greg Norman, who just landed Phil Mickelson to help get this series off and running right now. Doug Eldridge follows all this very, very closely here. There are a lot of controversies to this and the Saudi ties, Doug, and the kingdom and the prince and all of that. But it's a real rival to the PGA, is it not?
Yes, sir, it certainly is. And for all of the missteps in terms of Phil Mickelson's sound bites, perhaps the most coherent thing he said was, this is an opportunity to change the game and the business of golf, how it's played and how it's executed. And the money that Saudi Arabia is putting behind this LIV tournament is stupendous. Greg Norman's reportedly getting $100 million to run it. Dustin Johnson, the former #1, is getting $125. Phil Mickelson is reportedly receiving $200 million, which will put him $1 billion in career earnings. So this is not just walking around money we're talking about.
Now, they were also trying to woo Tiger Woods with upwards of $1 billion, but he turned him down, right?
Yes, sir, he did. And that was the report. It was high 9 figures, which leads you to assume it's close to $1 billion. Tiger's already eclipsed the $1 billion mark. But there are certain brand considerations. The PGA put out a statement last month in May saying that players cannot simultaneously play on the PGA Tour as the Saudi-backed tour. That led to questions of, was it going to be a direct suspension? What happens with sponsor implications? Mickelson himself, back in February, saw a series of long-standing sponsors jump ship, among them KPMG, Amstel, Workday, Amex, and a variety of others, not just because of his apparent willingness to work with the Saudis, but because of the direct conflict that it had with the PGA Tour. So Tiger is in a somewhat of a class of his own. But at the end of the day, as cliche as it may seem, money talks. And at least in this first year, it appears though the Saudis are prepared to put their money where their mouth is.
So are these players, Phil Mickelson's and some of the others, are they obligated now to play only with this Saudi venture? And as the PGA told them, you're not welcome here as long as you do?
Well, it's interesting. Dustin Johnson resigned his membership from the PGA and effectively won't play on the tour. But both Johnson and Mickelson have said they intend to play the majors in addition to the 7 stops on this Saudi-backed. I think what a lot of fans, Neil, are having trouble with is kind of people trying to take the moral high ground with this. You know, the PGA has a longstanding relationship with China, yet has no qualms about its purported human rights misgivings. But because Saudi Arabia is, and I say this objectively, just calling balls and strikes, because Saudi Arabia is putting together an unquestionable frontrunner, at least financially speaking, now there's an issue with the obvious and well-documented human rights issues behind Saudi Arabia. So a lot of fans are kind of sitting back and spend money and do the best for their family and their career, et cetera. And why would you bar them from competing in both? And I draw a parallel to, for example, the NFL, which in their player contracts, because it's union, because it's collectively bargained, they are prohibited from playing simultaneously or in the offseason in any other league. These golfers are independent contractors, so it's unclear whether or not that same prohibition or restriction will apply. But in the meantime, what is not in dispute is the amount of money that's being put out there and the opportunity for these golfers.
If all of these major tournaments heretofore have been PGA events, it would be like me anchoring on this network and CNN simultaneously. I can kind of see where the PGA is coming from, but are you saying that in the golf world it's different?
No, sir. I'm arguing both sides of the coin because I can see both. If I were the PGA, I would have an issue. I would want exclusivity of my players because that's also a relationship.
By the way, do the Saudis demand the same that he does?
No, sir, not to my knowledge. I don't believe that same restriction goes bilaterally. I think it's at this point unilaterally from the PGA. I think the worm on the hook from the Saudi side is the money. You know, we're offering you 7 stops where there's a $25 million purse at each stop, and the last place finisher walks away with $125,000. That's basically a $100K appearance fee for the guy that pulls up in last place. In terms of working simultaneously at Fox and see what you're saying, and if I were the PGA, I would want that exclusivity, not just because of my star attraction, my players, but my obligations to my sponsors who work not only with me as an association, as a league, but also with these players. It's putting the sponsors in arguably the worst position of all. So I completely understand where the PGA is coming from. But if I were to make the argument from the player standpoint, you would want that freedom to contract in the absence of some type of collectively bargaining agreement that prohibits you from doing so. It's still a little bit foggy, a little bit murky. So you have to applaud somebody like Dustin Johnson, who simply resigns his membership from the PGA in the interest of throwing his hat in the ring for a year with this Saudi tour. I don't know where this is going to lead, but this certainly is an interesting chapter in the multi-billion-dollar business of golf.
Yeah, money does talk, to your point, Doug. Thank you very, very much. Doug Eldridge, following these developments here.